Okay. Well, everyone, welcome to Mom Mode. I have our guest that I'm super excited to introduce all of you to, Stephanie Norman. She is a mom of four, and three of those children being spontaneous, identical triplet girls, which I'm super excited, obviously, to have you on the podcast and to dive into what life is like being, a mom of four, but also going from one to the nice surprise of three more children.
Yeah.
So, welcome to the podcast. I'm super excited to meet you and have you on. And, I'm just going to kind of hand it over to you. And if you want to just introduce yourself, where you're from, how old, your children are, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Thank you so much for having me. I am Stephanie. I am in Oklahoma and I am married to my high school sweetheart. We have been married for this year will be 9 years and we've been together for 16. We have a 5-year-old son named Wyatt, and then we have 3.5-year-old identical triplet girls, Aspen, Kinsley, and Lakin.
I love their names.
Thank
They're so
you.
cute.
Thank you.
How did you come up with them? They're so unique.
So Wyatt, we just had found it and liked it. So with the girls, me and my husband each had a girl name picked out. I had Aspen and he had Lakin. Um, and when we found out we were having triplets, we decided on those two. And then we had to search around for a third one because we only had those two names picked out for sure. And we were just going to battle over who was going to get the name by having one girl, but we had three. So we got to use both of our names. And then we just found another name that we really liked.
Oh, well, I love them. Aspen was on my list for a girl. So,
Oh,
yeah, maybe if my husband and I have a second, it'll be Aspen
yeah.
because I love that name. Um, so diving into like the topic of triplets, how did you find out that you're pregnant with triplets? Like, were you and your husband trying to get pregnant again? Do triplets run in the family? Like, how does triplet identical girls even happen?
Okay, so since they are identical, they don't run a family. It's just completely spontaneous.
Wow.
So my sister does have twins, actually. She has twin boys, but they
Oh,
are
wow.
fraternal and they are 7 now. But we were trying for our second and we were hoping for a girl. We wanted a boy and a girl. We only wanted 2 kids. And so we were trying for I think like 4 months and we ended up finding out we were pregnant. We were super excited and went to the doctor to do the blood tests and everything. And they didn't tell me like my levels were super high or anything. Like they just said, okay, yeah, you are pregnant and come back in like a week and we'll do ultrasound. So like a week later, we ended up going for ultrasound and we thought we were going to see one baby and they ended up doing the first ultrasound on me and they said two. They were like, okay, you're having twins. They're like, well, let's just do a second ultrasound just to be sure there's no more babies in there. And so they did a second ultrasound and they did end up finding a third baby. And
Oh
it
my
was so funny
gosh.
because like the ultrasound tech was like looking around and my husband seen it, seen the third one. And he actually called it before she did. He was like, it's triplets. And she's like, yeah, it's triplets. And
Oh my
that's
gosh.
actually like my first video of like going viral on TikTok was my ultrasound video of us finding out we were pregnant with triplets.
Yeah. Well, what's funny is not that I did too much stalking, but I was looking at just like your whole profile because I'm like, oh my gosh, like, when saw that you had triplets, I'm like, what is her life like? And I was just scrolling back and I actually did come across that video.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, that's insane. I don't even know what she was feeling or what your husband was feeling
Yes.
in that moment. So, I mean, was your pregnancy similar? Like, I obviously your pregnancy is going to be different because you have three babies in there,
Yes.
but like, did you feel similar? Could you feel like drastically different than when you carry just your singleton with your son?
Yes, it was totally different. Actually, whenever we took a pregnancy test, to find out we were pregnant, I took like 6 pregnancy tests because I was just so excited. But every time I took a test, it would just automatically pop pregnant. I was like, why is it like
Is it because, like,
It's so big. I guess because my levels
yeah,
were so high. And but I didn't think anything about it. I was just like, okay, yeah, I'm pregnant. And then we ended up finding out we were pregnant with three. But I was like super, I guess, moody before we ended up finding out we were pregnant with triplets. Like, not like I was when I just had one baby, but I did not think I was going to be pregnant with three. So any of these other like symptoms, I didn't think anything of. I was just like, whatever, like maybe
yeah,
be a girl this time. Maybe that's why my symptoms are a little bit different. And yeah, so then we found out I was pregnant with them. And once we found out I was pregnant with triplets, I just went into this depression. And I
really?
actually was diagnosed with what is the word? Prenatal depression. I was diagnosed with prenatal depression because
Oh,
I was
wow.
just so sad. I did not know how we were going to survive. I didn't know how we were going to raise three babies at once. How my son was gonna feel. Like, what's he gonna feel excluded? Because we were gonna have to put a lot of time into them. And it was
Mm-hmm.
just scary because it was a very high risk pregnancy. So I was just scared. Like every single appointment, I was just so anxious. Like I would be shaking going into every single appointment. And
Oh my
so
gosh.
I had prenatal depression. So I was just super sad all the time and super moody. It was just completely different than my son. Like I was just sad all the time. And it's sad to think that I was sad about them, but I didn't know what was to come. I was just so scared. Like, how was I going to grow three babies at one time? And it was just scary.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that with me. I did not even know that that was a thing to have like the prenatal depression. Do you think that was like just part of hormones, or do you think that's just something that's set in with just like you said, like being fear, being anxious, and then just those unknowns?
Yeah, I just think it was just the fear of the unknowns that were going to come, like how we were going to do it, like how we were going to afford it.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, like once we found out we were pregnant and we were at the ultrasound, I was like, I looked at my husband and I was like, how are we going to afford this? And I just kept asking all these questions. Like, I did not think we could do it. Like,
Mm-hmm.
we are 3.5 years later and we're doing it. So,
Yeah. No, that's
well,
incredible. And that's a good point. So like finances, like I mean, how did you do it? Because I know, obviously, you're feeding three children, formula. I don't know if you breastfed or formula fed and like high chairs. Like you need three of everything you have swings, cribs. So, I mean, how did you guys go about that?
um, so So I ended up being so I never planned on being a stay-at-home mom. Like I planned whenever we were gonna have our second, like I was just gonna go back to work part-time. And so when we found out we were having three of them, obviously now I'm a stay-at-home mom.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was really scary too, because I wasn't gonna have a job. And luckily for me, like my social media took off, so that was very helpful, like to help with the income and everything. So I started to do like social media. So that helped, thankfully. But luckily we had like a lot of family and friends and people from our hometown that like heard about us and just stepped up, and we had like a really big baby shower. And we, I have a video of how many diapers we had. Literally we had probably 100 plus boxes of diapers because people
Oh my gosh.
like we didn't have to buy any diapers for like the first 2 years. It was so nice.
Wow.
We were just so thankful that we had so many people that stepped up and helped us. So, and we did like search for like other triplet parents in the community, and I like got things from them, like my triplet stroller I ended up getting from another triplet mom, and there's things like that.
Yeah. So the community, like obviously like family community was just super helpful and like really stepped up. And like it's important to lean and like even reaching out to like I feel like other moms that were triplets, like, how did you do this? Or like you said, I mean, maybe they had something that they could hand off to you that they no longer needed if theirs were a little older.
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
when I found out about him, I was like on social media, like searching other triplet moms so I could reach out to them and ask
Hmm.
them how they did it. And it was nice to find other people that were going through the same things. And I'm still friends with these people today. And we just kind of communicate and, share what's going on with our lives.
Yeah, and I feel like that's such a like it's a big deal to have support as like not only a mom, but like as a triplet mom because, you're not only bringing home one little baby, you're raising, not your son who you already had and then bringing home these three little triplets.
Yes.
So with your pregnancy then, like going back to just like trimester, so you had the depression, did that last like your whole pregnancy?
Yes, it did. It did get better once it kind of finally kicked in, and I was like, "Well, this is my life now. Like, I'm gonna have to get used to it. Like, I just need to get prepared." And it did last all the way through. I ended up having like high blood pressure because of being anxious and scared all the time. I was never
Hmm.
diagnosed with preeclampsia or anything, but yeah.
They just monitored you for that.
Yeah.
Um, so like as far as like how you felt, like you felt your pregnancy was pretty like normal feeling. How long like when were the girls born? What week? Because I know they
They
go
were
triplets, they go early, right?
Yes, they were born at 29 weeks. So,
29.
yes. So they were pretty early. They stayed in the NICU for what was it? 20 No, how many days was it? 45 days? 45 days?
Wow. I feel like that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
Like because 29 is that pretty I mean, what twins they say are born at like what 34, 35 weeks. So
Yeah.
triplets is that like a normal
Well, they
gestational?
wanted me to make it to 35.
Okay.
So I guess it's the same as like a twin pregnancy, but
And then
yeah,
did
so
you
they were
just
early.
yeah. Did you go into labor like on your own
Mm-hmm.
or okay.
Yeah, so I actually I had woken up and I thought I was leaking amniotic fluid. So I was like, I need to go in, get checked just to make sure. And so I went in, and my husband stayed home with Wyatt at the time. I think he was 2.5-ish. So he stayed home with Wyatt, and I just went to the doctor's office by myself. And because my blood pressure was high at the time, they just said that I needed to go ahead and go to the ER just to be monitored, make sure everybody's doing okay. So I ended up going to the ER, and they monitored me for quite a while, and they went back and forth whether they were going to send me home or not. And they ended up deciding that they were going to keep me because I was dilated to a 3 at the time, I believe.
Oh
So
wow.
they were like, well, we're just going to keep you. They were trying to keep them in as long as possible. So they were just wanting to monitor me. But the girls had other plans and they were ready to come. So they ended up coming. Well, I had a C-section. They were
Okay.
like, we need to get them out because it was just they were getting distressed. So they were like, we need to get them out. So I ended up having an emergency C-section. And yeah, they ended up coming that next day after I had went to the hospital.
Wow. So, okay, did you have a C-section with your son or was the C-section just because you had the triplets?
No, I did not have a C-section with him.
Okay.
They didn't give me any other option besides a C-section for the girls, just because it's so risky.
Yeah, so it's just like they rather just be safe.
Yes.
So on top of bringing, well, your girls were in the NICU.
Yes.
You go home and you had a C-section.
Yes.
I mean, what were you feeling at that point? Like, were you nervous with the girls in the NICU? Did they seem pretty strong? And then like, how was healing?
So the girls were doing quite well. Actually, one of them didn't even need like oxygen or anything. None of them had to be intubated or any of that. So that was amazing. Two of
Mm-hmm.
them were on oxygen, and they were under the lights for their bilirubin or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they were doing pretty good for being born at 29 weeks, and they're all little over 2 pounds apiece. So they were teeny tiny. And so they were doing good, but it was definitely hard having to leave the hospital without three of your babies. So that was super hard. But I knew they were in good hands and that's where they needed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So going home, we had to go to the NICU 2 to 3 times a day. And so the hospital they were at was actually 30 minutes from where we live. So every day we were going back and forth. 2 or 3 times a day. And we'd have to find people to come and help us watch Wyatt while we'd go to the hospital, or I would have to go to the hospital and my husband would stay home with him. So it was just a lot. It was stressful trying to figure out how we were going to make it work. But unless this was during COVID, so like
Oh my
nobody could
gosh.
come to the hospital with us. Like none of the grandparents, Wyatt, nobody could come to the hospital with us. Like nobody got to meet the girls until we actually brought them home.
Oh my gosh. Like that adds a whole, so they were born in 2020 then.
2021.
2021, but like still like a lot going on with all of that.
Yes.
So there's so much stress that was going on
Oh
at
yes.
that time. But
And
obviously now such a blessing. They're healthy, but that's literally incredible. I mean, for them to be born at 29 weeks, like I feel like to be there for like 45 days
mhm.
is and them not needing like too much, just monitoring it sounds was incredible.
Yeah, it was
So
good.
they're
I'm
strong.
proud of them. Yeah, they were a little strong, little
Little
preemies.
strong warriors. So, like day to day, oh yeah, wait, so you're healing from
Mhm.
your C section. Like, you obviously had your son not via C section. So, how was that different?
And it was actually, I would say, easier for me. Like, it wasn't as bad as when I had my son. So that
Mm-hmm.
was good. I mean, honestly, I look back and I'm like, it was a blur. Like looking back
Mm-hmm.
at those times, I'm like, man, like I think it was that hard, but I mean, it was just a blur, like trying to get through each day.
Yeah, I feel like your body just goes into like survival mode
Yes.
where you just do what you need to do for yourself,
Mhm.
your husband, and your babies.
Mhm.
And that's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, so when you brought them home, did all three girls come home at the same time, or like was one or two of them ready? Because they monitor them until like what makes them confident that they can come home?
I want to say they have to be, um, what was it like? Breathing good, eating good. Remember exactly what all they had to be. But
Mm-hmm.
Aspen was the one that came in first. She was actually in there for 45. The other two was in there for 48. So she
Okay.
came home first. I forgot about this. She came home first at 45 days. And so then that was hard because I had two at home now. And then, well, one triplet and then Wyatt, and then
Yep.
the other two were still in the hospital. So then it was hard trying to manage having a newborn at home, plus Wyatt, and then two that were still in the NICU still.
Oh
So
my
it
gosh.
was a lot to deal with.
Yeah, like so much to juggle. Um, so bringing them, so Aspen was home, then you were able to bring the other two girls
Mhm.
home.
Yes.
How was like adjusting to like the new day to day, like having three newborns at home? So now a total of four babies, your husband, like how was your day to day? How was that on like your marriage for you and your husband? How was that on Wyatt?
Well, basically, like I said, we were pretty much just in survival mode. So all of our focus was basically on the girls. So me and my husband just literally were winging it every single day. He did pretty well. We did try to set aside some time each day to like really focus on him. And we did have a lot of help when they first came home, like my parents, my husband's parents, sisters and sister-in-law's friends. We had a lot of help. Like my sister-in-law, she would like once a week she would come over and let us sleep through the night. So she would like watch them through the night and let us be able to get one night of full sleep
Oh my
because we
gosh.
would wake up every 3 hours to feed them. But it took forever because you were having to feed three babies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, sleep is huge when you're a parent. Like so underrated, something that I didn't think, you just don't think about it until you don't have it. And then
Mhm.
you're like, oh my gosh, I need sleep. And
Yeah.
especially with three babies. As far as like feedings, like how did that go? Bottle feeding when they transferred to like, purees and solids, like how did all of that go?
So initially, I pumped and fed them bottle through bottle, but I wasn't producing enough, so we did have to like substitute some formula in there.
Mm-hmm.
So we would have to feed them every 3 hours, and that was a lot of work. It took a lot of time because there's three of them and two of us. So we just kind of, and we had to keep them on a schedule because, there's
Yep.
three of them. You want to keep them on a schedule. So if one, like during the night, if one woke up and they're ready to eat, we'd have to wake the other two up so that they're all on the same schedule. So one's not waking up 10 minutes later wanting to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So we just had to keep them on a schedule and feed them every 3 hours. And then once they started eating like baby food, it started getting a little easier. So they started eating baby food, and that was fun. They eat lots of snacks, and then once we weaned them from bottles, and now they're on just regular food, and now they're eating all the food, all the berries. So it's just a lot.
Yeah, I definitely like, I feel like when you go to like, they're eating food, drinking like regular milk, you're like, you don't realize how much of a hustle it is to feed them bottles. And like, that's incredible that you were even pumping. Like, I feel like, I was a breastfeeding mom. I feel like I put so much pressure on myself as a mom of like, I can't give my daughter formula. And same with me, I was not producing enough.
Yeah,
So I finally like gave in, gave formula. And I'm like, I like cried almost because I'm like, I cannot believe that I put so much pressure on myself. Like, all my baby needed was food. Like, that's the most important thing is a fed baby.
exactly.
So, yeah, that's incredible. Wow. I literally like, I'm sitting here and I'm like, you're
Yeah.
incredible for like being a mom of four, but a mom of triplets, like doing
Yeah.
three at once.
It was
Uh,
definitely a lot of work, like having to wash like 300 bottles. Not literally 300, but it was a ton of bottles to have to wash to like eat all
yeah.
of them.
Yeah. I'm literally like, yeah. I mean, and just like such a juggling act. Like when you go to bathe them, then like you can't bathe three babies at once. I mean, maybe you can. Maybe you had a way that you did it, but you're still watching three little babies at
Yeah.
all times. And then like, I mean, how did Wyatt take to the girls? Like, was he excited? Was there ever like a period where you felt that maybe he felt a little rejected because the focus had to be on the girls?
Well, I felt like he was pretty young when we first brought them home, so I don't feel like it affected him that much. Like I said, we always try to give him some time of our day, just to, like really focus on him. So I feel like that helped him a lot. But I mean, I do feel like he does. I mean, all these years, like we've obviously there's three of them, one of him. Like they are a lot more work than he is. So we
Mm-hmm.
do have to put more time and effort into them. So I do feel like he does feel left out sometimes, but we always try to like do things with him to make him not feel that way. So like I'll go have mommy son dates with him, or he'll go spend time with dad or whatever, just so he's not feeling left out.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. And like also with them just being three girls, I mean, are they just like little besties? And like also, like, I was curious, like when they were little, I don't know, do you almost feel like they bonded? Like they were just always so bonded when, even when they're laying next to each other. And like even now, like, do you feel that those bonds are still there?
Oh, for sure. Definitely, they are little besties, especially now. Like, it's so fun to like watch them play together. But like, since they started talking, they've had like their own little language, I feel like. And so, like, they can like talk to each other, and it just sounds like jibber jabber to me and my husband, but they know exactly what they were saying to each other. It's so crazy. But I mean, it's either they the biggest best friends or they are fighting. Like, it's no in
Yep.
between. Like, they are giving each other hugs and kisses, or they are biting and pulling hair and scratching and all that stuff.
Oh my gosh. And especially at their 3.5.
Mhm.
So at that age, I feel like that's when it like starts.
Yes.
Are like two more connected? Like, is there always, when they do argue, is one always left out? Or like, how does that work with them, them being three?
Well, with all four of them, I do feel like they like play together when there's like two and two. So, like, my son, he likes to just play with one of them at a time, or I feel like he gets super overstimulated. So, I don't feel like anybody's ever left out. I usually feel like there's two here and two there. Like,
Yeah.
you know,
So that's nice. Like having, obviously four, it really balances it
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause three, I feel like sometimes one can feel left out.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, so as far as like the biggest challenges, like, is there any challenges that like when you think of a challenge, like sticks out the most when you think of raising triplets?
Let's see. I mean, everything's just been challenging. I feel like every stage is different, but they have their own challenges. Like now that the girls are 3, I do feel like I look back and I used to think that the newborn stage would be the hardest, but now I look back and I'm like, wow, like they couldn't move around. They couldn't like talk. Like that was super hard. Like the toddler years, like having 3 of them, like with the attitude and the fighting and all of that. So I feel like just right now, like in toddlerhood, like it's a pretty big struggle.
Yeah. And they probably like, I don't know, one's like a little mischievous. They can like guide the other ones to do it. You just never know what toddlers are up to. They have their own little
Yeah,
minds.
exactly. 3 of them. So I always have to have my eyes on them, like at
Hmm.
times, or they are getting into something and destroying something.
Oh my goodness. So as far as like lessons learned, like, is there anything looking back from now to like when you brought them home? Like, is there anything that you would change or do differently?
Um, I wouldn't say since I brought them home. I would say probably since like my pregnancy. I wish I could just go back and tell her like everything would be okay because I was just so scared and did not know what, life was going to be like. I didn't think we would get to travel anymore. All these things. I just wish I could go back and tell myself like it's going to be okay. Like they are going to be the biggest blessing that we've had.
And like, as far as like traveling and like having like this, the life that you and your husband have wanted for like your marriage, your children, how you want to raise them. Like, do you feel that like you're like adjusting and like you're able to travel, you're able to do those things and not feel like held back?
Yeah. Now that they are older, it has gotten easier in like traveling, like they ride in the car good and all that. So I do feel like that's one good thing about them being older is that we can start traveling good. I mean, we've always traveled since they've been babies.
Hmm.
Um, but now, like, we are really focusing on traveling a lot again because before we had kids, we traveled a lot and we wanted to wait to have kids until we like went to certain places and all this. And so now that they're older, we are trying to start traveling more and they're good. They love traveling with us. So I'm so proud that they ride in the car good because we are going on lots of trips.
Yeah. Are you going to be like, are you a road trip family? Have you flown with them yet?
They have not flown yet.
Okay.
Past this last year, we went on, I think, 5 road trips, the longest one being 16 hours.
Oh, wow.
So, but we are wanting to go to like the Caribbean. So I think we will be flying with them probably sometime next summer.
That'll be exciting.
Yeah.
I feel like some kids just thrive when like you're just doing stuff like traveling. Like I know like our daughter, like when we are in the car, like we took her on her first road trip and it was a 16-hour drive and she just did so well. You're like, how do you not act sometimes well at home, but we're on a road trip in the middle of
Yeah,
nowhere and you're acting incredible? It's like they
exactly.
know, they like subconsciously know, like, okay, we're doing something. This is exciting.
Yes. Yeah. Like me and my husband say like it's easier going places with them than it is being stuck at home with them. Like they do so much better when we're out and about than they do when we're at home.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like we thought it was gonna be the opposite. We're like, we're never gonna get to go anywhere anymore once we have these triplets. But honestly, like we would rather be out and about.
No, that's incredible. And I definitely like feel that. Like sometimes I'm like, I just need to get out of the house. Cause like you can also just feel stuck. Like, and did you feel that way at all? Like, I feel like something that's not talked about a lot as a mom is like, it's amazing to be a stay at home mom. I mean, I will never take that for granted. I think most moms that can stay at home will never take that for granted. But you also sometimes, like for myself, I feel like sometimes I lose myself in a way, or like I just feel so stuck in like mom mode, which is,
Yes.
so did you ever go through that period? So like you had the postnatal depression. Like, did you feel that you ever struggled with like just being at home and like just finding like frustration and like the day to day?
Oh, yes. I actually still deal with that a lot because I don't think I mentioned this. My husband actually works 2 weeks away and then he's home for 2 weeks. So I'm stuck at home for 2 weeks, but then by myself.
Oh my gosh.
And I recently just started to get out of the house with them by myself, like now at 3.5. Like it took me all these years to be brave enough to like go out and about with them. So most of the time I am stuck at home for like those 2 weeks that my husband's gone because it's so much work trying to do, like try to take 4 kids by yourself somewhere.
Oh
So
yeah.
yeah, I do feel lonely sometimes because I'm just stuck at home.
Yeah. And that's, that's one of the big things is like, I'm like, I feel like it's not talked about enough. And like, as moms, like, we need to come together and know that that's something that's a normal feeling and that's okay. And, those days are going to come and go, and you're going to have days where you don't feel that way. And like, that's just what you have to focus on when you do have, the hard times. I deal with that as a mom all the time. And that's, one of the reasons why I wanted to connect with other moms. Cause I'm like, I feel that. And everyone's story is different. Everyone's home life is different. How many kids you have? Like I only have one, you have four. But I just feel like it's really important to talk about and be able to relate in that aspect. So as far as like what you're gonna do, like do you guys think you're done having babies? Like are you good with four? I know you said you wanted two, then maybe three, and obviously you went from one to four. So do
Yeah.
you think like what's next for your family? Like is it just enjoying like life as it is now?
Oh, yes, we are definitely done. We took all the precautions, so we know we are not going to be having any more kids. So I want to risk that because they say once you have multiples, you are at higher risk to have multiples again. So I'm like, there is no way I'm going to risk that. But
Yep.
we are perfectly content with our 4 kids, and yeah, we're just enjoying life. Gonna start traveling more, and like my son, he's in kindergarten. The girls, they'll be starting school. So I mean, just enjoying life.
Yeah. And then as far as like social media, so I know that you had mentioned, that first video that you posted of your ultrasound kind of went like viral. So did you like plan on that happening? And like, are you keeping up with that?
So no, I never planned on doing social media. It just kind of happened. I was pregnant and I just decided to post it on TikTok, and that was my first video ever, and it just happened to go viral. And then I ended up posting our gender reveal, which was actually our triplet reveal to our family. And then that one went viral. So it kind of just went from there. I just decided, well, I'm just gonna start documenting my pregnancy, and then people enjoyed like seeing the triplets when they were babies. And so now I'm just continuing it. I mean, I'm not as focused on it as I was. I mean, obviously, life with 4 kids is super hectic.
Mm-hmm.
So I have kind of stepped back a little bit, but I mean, I enjoy it. I love sharing them with everybody. So yeah, I do it when I can.
Yeah. No, I mean, when I came across your profile, I was like, wow, like first off, I don't even know how to make reels. Like I'm not tech
Yeah.
savvy at all. And so I'm like, how is she doing this? Like she is momming, she is thriving. Like, I mean, you're doing an incredible job. Your daughters are absolutely adorable. I can't tell them apart. Like, did you guys have like any trouble like telling them apart when you like
And
originally brought them home?
so we could always tell them, well, actually, I could always tell them apart. My husband, it took him, I think, over a year for him to be able to tell them apart. But when we first brought them home, we ended up getting them like different colored anklet bracelets. So
Mm-hmm.
they wore these little anklets with their names on them for 7 months. And then those broke. So I was like, well, I'll start painting their toenails. So I started painting
Mm-hmm.
toenails, different colors.
Oh my gosh. That is
And
so cute.
yeah, then that turned into a lot of work. So I was like, well, I'll just pierce their ears. So we pierced their ears, and now they have like little initial earrings in.
Oh,
So
that's smart.
like they're teachers, and everybody can tell them apart by their little earrings.
Oh my gosh, that's genius. I always heard of the bracelets.
Yeah,
The nail polish is so cute, and then the earrings.
yeah,
That's so smart. Yeah,
yeah.
they're
They
just
always looked completely different to me. Like they do
hmm
not look like. I actually got DNA tests done because I was like, they do not look alike to me. I was like, I need a DNA test done to make sure they are identical. And which I mean, they shared a placenta. Like obviously they're identical, but I was like, I'll just have to be for sure. So we did get DNA tests done. They're definitely identical.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, I literally was like, I've like shown like some of my friends, and I'm not gonna lie, I showed my mom. I'm like, look at how cute these girls are. And then
Oh
I'm like, I don't know, how do you tell them apart? And then my mom's like, I don't know. I feel like this one's smile, like they're all so cute, but you could tell.
yeah.
And no, that's so funny. So they shared the same placenta,
Mm-hmm.
but different sacks or the same sack?
So
Is that always the case with identical triplets?
no, they can share one sac and the placenta, and that's like super super high risk. I don't
Wow.
remember like the medical term for it, but yeah, they all had their own sacs, which was good because it's super high risk if they're all in one sac.
Yeah. Um, and then I mean, as far as like, I guess my last question would be like, what advice, like if there's anything like a mom's watching this that's has triplets or, is pregnant with triplets, just finding out, like what advice like, would you give to that mom?
That it's all gonna work out, that everything's gonna be okay. It's the biggest blessing. They are gonna be the best of friends. It's just amazing watching them all together. And so, yeah, if somebody is pregnant with triplets, just know that it's going to be okay because I didn't think it was going to be. I was just so sad, and I regret that I was so sad my whole pregnant, but it will be okay.
Yeah. Well, like I said, you look amazing. You're thriving. Your family's beautiful. Um, yeah. Also, with living in Oklahoma, you posted a video of your storm shelter.
Yes.
How, like, did you guys get that installed? Like, this is totally off like mom topic, but kind
Yeah.
of not. Like, you have a video where like you show what your storm shelter looks like, and like even your dog goes down the
Mhm.
stairs to go in there. Like, what is that like? Like, and how many times have you had to go down there?
It's so funny because when I posted that, I didn't realize like so many people didn't know like that's what we do in Oklahoma. Yeah, we live in Tornado Alley, so
Okay.
during storm season, um, or I guess if there's a tornado, you're supposed to like the safest place to be is underground. So I had posted this video of showing me stocking our storm shelter. Call it a storm shelter. I think it confused a lot of people by calling it a storm shelter. Some people call it a tornado shelter.
Mm-hmm.
But during like all the hurricanes and stuff, I guess it was going viral again. And people were like, "You're not gonna survive that in a hurricane." I'm like, it's a tornado shelter, not like a storm, any kind of storm shelter. But
Yeah.
we don't have to get into it that often. Like maybe once a year. I think last year we ended up getting it at one time.
Okay.
But it's just I stock it just in case because if there's going to be a tornado, we will need supplies down there because it's underground under our house. So we might get trapped in there, which is scary to think about.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely. Like that's what I was thinking. I'm like,
yeah,
oh my
uh,
gosh.
no, like at the fire department, you have to register your storm shelter with like your city. So they have like the exact coordinates of your storm shelter. So if there was a tornado that came through and
Yeah.
for all the houses down, they would know where we're at. So they can get to us like shortly. We wouldn't be down there longer than a few hours.
Yeah. I didn't even think of that. Like them knowing where it is, and then you have to register it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
never
I was,
thought that video would go viral. I'm like, I only post like home stuff. And then I decided to just post that video and it went viral. And so now I'm done for tornado stuff.
Well, I definitely like related it to your mom because I'm like, okay, you do have to prepare this. Like, if your kids
Mhm.
need to go down there with you, you need food, you need water, obviously your dog.
Yeah,
Is that scary? Like, has that ever happened when your husband's been out of town?
it has, and that's super scary. Yeah, we've had to get down there without him, and actually, that was this year. We had to get down there without him, and it's so scary because you don't know if you're gonna have a house or not. Like, I
Yeah.
last year we actually had a tornado like form above like our neighborhood that ended up destroying like the town right next to us. So
Oh,
that
wow.
was super scary. My husband was home for that, thankfully. But
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, that's definitely scary, like a little close to home. I mean, we have them here. I mean, like not toward us. Like we definitely have like the tornado alarms that go off and like I get freaked out just from that. And like but well, Oklahoma's beautiful, but yeah, I know the tornado they're known for the tornadoes.
Oh yes. And that's coming up soon. Springtime is when they come. So
Do your
looking
kids feel
forward.
like do all the babies feel like more prepared that you have the storm shelter? Like they know the routine and the drill?
Yeah, they actually like going down there. Like they'll go like, open the storm shelter, go down there. And I'm like, sure. So we do practices every so often just to make sure everybody can like hurry up and get down there.
Yeah, no, that's so smart. I think that's one of the videos that I had saw that you kind of do like a drill. So that way, when it does
Mhm.
happen, the kids are prepared and you're prepared.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I just want to thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, for sharing your journey. I really like just so admire you and look up to you. Like I have one baby and I'm like, you did it with three and you have a total of four. Like that is just so incredible. And I hope you know how amazing of a job that you're doing. And it's been so nice to meet you.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, I'm so excited to still follow your journey as well. So I hope you keep posting about the girls and your son.
Of course.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.